Hey guys, Honey Hole DIYs here again. So I'm at lunch and I decided to do like like a another turkey call video, I guess. For those of you that are new to my channel or haven't really seen all my videos that I've posted throughout the years, I make turkey calls out of ceramic tile. So um, I'm not gonna be able to do the whole thing today, but because I still gotta get some glue and everything. But so this is how you do it. You get a piece of tile. If you can find circular ones, awesome. And you get like a drain pipe that they use in landscaping, right? And make sure it has these little pegs on it so the ceramic tile can sit on it. And what you do, you just score the back, because this was square at one point. You score the back with a razor blade or a knife or whatever. It doesn't have to be really sharp. It just has to score the back. So you have a stencil, so to speak, on where you're going to cut. And I cut it with a pair of wire snips. These ones right here. And yeah, I just cut it in a circle. Took a while. I mean, I had to, recenter it and like trace it out with a marker and whatever. Kept scoring it and retracing it out. So I'm sure there's easier ways. And you could probably use tile cutters if you got them. You could probably use a circular saw. You could probably use even a jigsaw would probably work, whatever. But since I don't have all that on my truck, I decided to go with this option, which I've done in the past. So, and then you take some sandpaper and get some sandpaper and you just knock off the edges, because once you cut it, it's a little jagged. So you just kind of sand the edges down so it doesn't cut you or nothing. And then you place it in the little pot here. This is called a pot call. It's called a pot call or a striker call or whatever you want to call it. But I believe it's called a pot call. And then I'm going to make the strikers or the friction strikers, whatever you want to call them, I'm going to make a shotgun shell. I'm going to make a corn cob one. And then I'm going to make just a plain wooden one or a deer antler one, whatever one comes up. And then with the actual friction, I guess it's called a friction call too. They call it pot calls, friction call, whatever. So with the actual friction part, I'm going to have oak, pine, and then probably a carbon arrow. So I'm going to make 3 of them. And then, so we'll have a part 2 to that. But yeah, make sure when you go to the hardware stores, I think these are only like 50 cents to maybe $1. Make sure they have the pegs on them. And I believe this is a 3-inch. This is exactly what it is right here. So you look at that. I got this at Home Depot. Lowe's has it too. I think Ace has them too. So just depending on what size you want. You guys want a smaller one, you can go with a 2-inch, but it's more cutting unless you could find tile that that's 2 inches. But I like the 3-inch because you can hold it in your hand better. And then I'll show you part 2 tomorrow, since I know turkey season's coming up here pretty quick. And yeah, I'll show you everything after that, the glue and everything. I use Gorilla Glue, and it takes 24 hours to set. So I use Gorilla Glue. I pour it in there. I set it. It says, wet it. You could use the stuff that you have to wet, or just use the other stuff. I'll use both. I mean, the original Gorilla Glue used to just kind of like puff out or foam up or whatever you want to call it. It'll like fill in the gaps. Sometimes I used to use too much in the past, but so I'll probably just get the clear stuff or even epoxy. You could glue it basically with anything that'll work with tile, So it doesn't matter, just as long as it stays in there and the glues and everything. And then once I do that, then I'll show you how to do the strikers, and yeah, I'll show you how to do all that stuff. I'll even sand up the face of this. Use some really gritty sandpaper to sand up the face of this, and then once you get it down to how you want it, and the sounds come out, then you could use some really fine grit sandpaper because you just want to maintain it. Until then, I will show you the second part of this turkey call that I've made. All right. Honey Hole DIYs out. Peace.